Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings and salutations, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to go a little bit back to basics. And the reason we're going back to the basics is that I have a friend who's recently started his own video game company. And they are trying to release their first game, which is called Billion Worlds Kingdoms, and is currently in open beta. And I thought that was really awesome. I worked together with the guy in the same company, and we've chatted a little bit about this game in the past. And he's now finally taken the step and are going at this full time, which is fantastic. I love when people go out on their own and kind of chase their dreams with vigor. And I thought to myself, well, what can I do to help? And one of the things that I came up with was just trying to create a simple design for their website. So I talked to him about it, and he wanted me to go ahead and implement this. And I thought it'd be a nice thing to do on this channel as well, just kind of going back to the complete basics. We might do some JavaScript, but this is a static site, so we'll go ahead and focus on HTML and CSS and then see how we go. So yeah, that's about it, and we can do a quick tour of this design just so you can see what it's about. So the first section up here is basically the attention grabber, I guess you could say. We want to kind of get the message across that this game is in open beta, and then have the links to the App Store and Google Play where you can actually go ahead and get started. And then we just have a image down here, which is the starting screen of the game, and a little bit of teaser text underneath that explains what the game is about. Then we have a feature section, and you can see that we have an image with the game where the game is a little bit progressed. So you can kind of try to get an idea of what the game is about. We have 3 features. We may add some in the future, but for now we'll just keep it like that. And then we have, just some imagery to convey the feeling that you're in a unique fantasy world with a lot of other players, or a lot of other entities that you have to kind of interact with. Then we have a lore section down here. And then we just have a simple footer. So I think it's going to be quite exciting just to go ahead and try and implement this in just regular old CSS, HTML, and probably learn a lot in the process. So hopefully it'll be worth your time. So I think we'll just go ahead and get started. I've already copied some of the assets, the icons that we're going to use, and images, but other than that, we are starting from scratch. And what we'll do is we'll create an index HTML, and we'll create a main CSS file. And then we'll go ahead and we'll say HTML:5 just to get the scaffold from Emmett here. And we'll go ahead and give it a title of Billion Worlds. And then we have the body here. We'll just go ahead and create a hello world, an h1 tag, and then we'll go ahead and we'll link up the CSS file. So link rel style sheet href going to be main CSS. Let's go do root on that. And then type is going to be text CSS. Close that. Hit save. And now we're going to go ahead and start a HTTP server on port 8000. And we'll go ahead and, yeah, this is the Google Play page. I was just playing around, grabbing some images and checking it out. You can go here if you want to try the game out, which is in open beta right now. So I'm going to go to localhost 8000. And we should have our hello world there, which we do. I want to have another font, so I'm going to go to Google Fonts. And we're going to get Roboto. And let's get light, regular, and medium. Or let's just get right and regular for now. We might add some more later, but see if that's enough. All right. Let's go ahead and get started in our main CSS and do some cleanup. So we'll give the body padding 0, margin 0. We'll go ahead and give everything a style of box sizing, border box, which that's going to help us when we kind of create our layout. Because when you do border box, if we go ahead and go back to our browser, we can go ahead and inspect one element here. If we scroll to the bottom, you can see this is kind of all of the boxes that have something that influences your content. So on this element, you have a content box, you have the padding, you have the border, and you have the margin. What border box does is that if you say that this box, like this element, is going to be 400 pixels wide, then the margin and the borders and the padding that you apply will only affect the content within. It won't create additional width on that element. It will always be 400 pixels wide. And that's going to help you when you create your layouts, because it doesn't, when you put on the margins and the paddings, it doesn't affect the width of the element, which is a good thing. It makes it more consistent and easier to work with. All right, so now let's go ahead and give a font family of Roboto, and then serif to the body, and we'll do H1, and we'll do the same here, and we'll do P span, give that font as well. Let's go ahead and refresh. So it looks like we haven't applied our styling here. And it's property, invalid property value. Okay. Go ahead and put a comma there, and that should take care of it. All right. So let's go ahead and get started on this first section. And if we go back to our sketch file, basically we want a header with the logo, and then we want this content. All right, let's get started on the header. Go ahead and go back to index. Instead of hello world, we'll go ahead and say div class of header, and we'll give it an image, and the source is going to be assets, images, company logo, and we'll give it an alt tag. Then go ahead and go to our main CSS. We'll give the header a background color of black and a padding 0.5 rems. We'll see what that looks like. All right, so something. Our logo is huge right now. I'll go ahead and alter that. Let's go ahead and go to index. We'll give this a class of header logo. Grab that. Give the width. That might be a little bit too much. We'll see. Try 250 pixels. All right, cool. And I think what we'll also do is we'll give this a div with a class of container. And the container is going to have a max width of 1024 pixels, and going to have a margin 0 auto. So that's going to kind of make sure that our content stays centered. I'm not sure I actually like that on the logo, so maybe we'll have the container class but not have it in the header. Reset that, and then I will get started on this content section. So just go back to the sketch file for a second. We have a logo, we have a header, we have the buttons, we have an image here, then we have the text. So we'll go ahead and stub that out, and we'll first create a div, call this header. Make sure we use the semantic HTML. So we'll call this main content landing content. Then we'll have the game logo, and that's going to be source, assets, images, game logo, and we'll give it an alt as well. And self-close these tags be correct. Then we'll have an h1, and it's going to have this text right here, so we'll just grab that and put it in, say class landing header. And then we'll have the buttons. So create a button group, say landing, actually let's call it a link group. And then we'll have a href, and then we'll create another one. Where we close these correctly, and then inside it'll have an image. Source will be pointing to Apple, and this one will have one to the Google image. I'll make sure that we get the right look, and we want to go ahead and just put an alt tag on these as well, just to make sure that we are being friendly to screen readers. Or icon. say Google Play icon. And for now, this is just going to point to an anchor tag. Hashtag. The next part is going to be an image, which is going to have the, excuse me, going to be the iPhone image. So this one, iPhone front page. We'll give it an alt tag. Go ahead and give these to a class of link images. Link image. This one will be, let's be consistent, a landing link image. This will be landing game image. All right, and then we'll have a paragraph, and that's going to be this here. Paste that in, and we'll give it a class of landing game paragraph. All right, so now go ahead and see where we're at in our browser. And nothing. Let's go ahead and see. Okay, so we have a lot of content here. It's all further down here, so going to have to make some adjustments here. So let's grab the landing content class. We'll say background color, going to be black, and then we're going to grab the game logo. So this one, we're gonna give it a width of 200 pixels. All right. We're going to wrap everything in here in that container we created. Div. Like this. And then go ahead and we want to center everything here. So let's go ahead and grab the create a landing container. We're going to put everything inside of that one. The landing container going to have width of 100%. Going to have display flex. Going to be flex direction column. And going to align items center. All right. Let's keep going. We'll give the header logo width of 300 pixels instead. I want it to be a little bit bigger. So let's wrong one. Let's go here. 250 pixels. That's it. And now let's go ahead and fix the buttons. So the link group down here. Actually, we'll handle the header first. So we'll take the header class and we'll give that a font size of 1.5 rem, color of white. Let's see what that does. All right, we're going to give it margin bottom of 1 rem. We'll get started on the link group next. I think let's go ahead and just make this 2 font weight thin. See what that looks like. Remove that because that didn't do anything. And let's go ahead and do 1.8. All right, so we're getting there. There's still a few things I need to handle here. So we'll go ahead and we'll just shape it out a little bit and then we'll do adjustments as we go along. Let's go ahead and tackle the link group next. Copy that. Paste that in here. We'll say display flex. Because we want the links to be next to each other. And then we'll take these images and we'll do width 100 pixels. And we'll go ahead and refresh. All right, so that's a little bit better. And we want to do try it like this. All right, so we'll drop that. Do width 50. Then we'll give these links a class of landing link. And it's going to be landing link Google. So grab this one, give that a margin right 5 pixels. Get a little bit of gap between there. Grab the landing link Google. Give that margin left 5 pixels, and then we'll transform it just a little bit. Translate Y 5 pixels. Oops. All right. So let's keep going. First of all, we want to even out the spacing a little bit between these elements. And then we want to increase the spacing between these. So let's just take a look at our sketch file. Yeah, so we want this to be a little more even. So to do that, we'll first focus on placing this a little bit closer to the logo here. Might also increase the logo size a little bit. Let's do that. we'll say 400. All right. And now the header will transform that up a little bit. So we'll say transform, translate y minus 100. All right. And then we'll go ahead and we'll give that, move the margin bottom. And the landing link group will transform that 20 pixels. Let's do a little bit more on that. All right. And then that group is going to have a little bit more space on the bottom. So let's go ahead and do margin bottom to rem. Okay. So now what we have left to do is we want to add this, going to format this text down here. So we'll go ahead and grab the landing game paragraph. And we'll go ahead and style it. So first of all, it's going to have a width 300 pixels and a color of white. And say 400, get a font size 1.2 rem. Give it text align, center. Give it a line height. Increase that a little bit. Let's see. $420, be fine. And increase that to 1.5. All right. Check out the sketch. It's a little bit wider in the sketch, but I don't want to make it too wide because it'll be hard to read. So let's go ahead and keep it as it is right now. I do a little bit more. Right, so 525, that's it. And then we'll do margin bottom pixels. With that, I'm going to go to the landing content and we'll say padding bottom 50 pixels. Okay, let's make it 100. All right, so that looks decent. So we can go ahead and get started on the next section, which is going to be this features section right here. So let's go ahead and build that out. And you can see that we have a header, and we have kind of three text sections over on the left hand side, and there's an image on the right hand side. So let's go ahead and go back to our code editor. And in our index file, we'll go ahead and we'll call this features. So features, and then have an h2, and we'll call this features heading, and then we'll have the container, and excuse me, the h2 will be inside the container. And then we'll have a features container, and that's kind of going to be the container that sits around both the image and the features section. So we're going to have a new div here. It's going to be the features. Let's see what we'll call that. So we have the features container. It's kind of going to be the whole thing around here, and then this will be the section that we're building a div for now, and then the image will be on the right hand side. So we'll go ahead and call this a single feature, and the have features container, the call it features inner container. All right, and then we can go ahead and build out a single feature. So just to be clear, this is the header. Then we have the features container, which is going to be the list of the three text features. And then we'll have the image. Place that in div features image container. And it's going to be image with the source of assets, images. And it's going to be the iPhone in progress, game content image. And then once we have that, we can start adding the features. So that's going to be an icon, and then we have the header and the text. All right. Let's go ahead and do h3, which is going to be the features header. And let's go ahead and say settle, and inside have paragraph class features paragraph. And then this will be an image, and the image will be assets, icons, flag. Give that an alt tag and a class of features header icon. So that's a settle, and then let's go ahead and grab the text from sketch. All right, we'll go ahead and grab this, but before we do, we'll wrap that in a class of feature. Let's grab this entire thing. We'll duplicate it and we'll say explore, and we'll grab the text here. Then we'll do the same thing for the last one. That's going to be advance your civilization. All right. So let's take a look at where we're at in our browser. And we have everything we need. It just looks pretty horrible right now. So we need to go ahead and fix that. And we need to fix the icons as well. So this is going to be icons. If I can get my autocomplete to work properly. Nope. Hang on a second, just need to figure out what the problem is with the autocomplete here. So we have the icons here, so it's going to be icons, compass, and then start line. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab the features heading. We'll go to main CSS. Give this a comment. Go ahead and comment this section right here as well. And before we get started, I also want to add a new container in here. Features outer container. That's going to be closing here. Oops. The featured outer container, that is going to make sure that we you know what? Never mind. Okay. We'll use it for our padding and getting our alignment right. So main CSS. Go ahead and go features outer container. And the padding 1 rem. Play flex, align, center. And this will be font size 2 rem. See what we get. And we need to make sure the flex direction is going to be column. All right. So now we need to handle this section right here so we get the alignment correct with the features on one side and the image on the other. So now we're going to focus on that, and we'll grab the features container, and that's going to have display flex. And this inner container is also going to have display flex, and we're going to give it a flex direction of column. And we'll go ahead and tackle the features here. So features header, going to have a font size 0.5 rems, and we're going to grab the features header icon, give that a width of 30 pixels, and we'll give this position relative. Let's refresh and see what we have. We're getting somewhere. So the features container, with and playing around a little bit now. So the features container needs to close over the image container as well. So features container, we'll need to move this inside of here. And that's going to place it correctly, but we still have some work to do. So let's go ahead and give the features container a margin top, 1 rem, container, give it 1, let's give it 2 rems. Then we'll actually go ahead and take these headers and we'll place the icons correctly. So let's grab the header icon and give it a position of absolute. And then we'll give it right. Start with 5. Sorry, left. That's going to be minus 20 to 50 and see what that's like. Yep, that works. And we're going to give the header margin bottom 0.5 rem, 0.25. All right, and then we'll do the inner container with we'll give that 50%. And we want to center this image a little bit inside of its container. So we'll go ahead and grab the image container. And we'll say display flex, line items, center, give it a width of 50%. Sure. All right. Okay, let's take a look at our sketch file. So it looks like we are going to give the paragraphs a little more size. And we'll do that by grabbing the features paragraph. And we'll say font size 1.5 rem, 25 rem. And I think we'll make it a little bit smaller. Take the image here. So this one, we'll give the class of features game image. And we'll give that a transform property. And we'll translate x 25 pixels. Take a look. So make sure we save that. Refresh. Give it 50. All right. So let's go ahead and just give the features a padding bottom 100 pixels. Or let's do 50 first, just to see what it's like. Yeah, I think that'll do it. And now the next section. Actually, just let's give it a little more padding. Just 100 on the bottom, padding top 25. Yeah. And then the next section is the imagery here. We'll go ahead and get started on that as well. In our index.html, go ahead and create a new section. And we'll say graphics. Let's call it graphics. And that's going to have an for. And we'll grab that class, go to main CSS, create a graphics section. Now let's go ahead and give that a background image. It would be URL, assets, images, background image. And we'll give the background size, cover, and a height of 800 pixels. Right, let's give it a height, increase that 1200. And have this h3 going to be graphics header. go ahead and grab that, put that inside of a div with the class of container. Save. And we'll do font size, 2 rem. Give it a padding top and bottom of 1 rem. And 0 on the left and right. We'll say text align, center. And color is going to be white. Playing around a little bit here. I want it a little further down, so did a padding of 8. All right. Now we're kind of getting to the end here. Just need to add a couple of more sections. So we have this lower section, and then we have the footer down here in the end. So let's go ahead and add those pieces as well. So the next one is the lower section. We'll go to index HTML and we'll add a new section here called lore. And we need a container, and we need to have an h4 called lore. And then we need to have a lore inner container. And we need to have a lore inner image container, and the image is going to have a source of assets, images, scroll. And then it's going to be a div here with the class of lore text container. And we'll add a paragraph. Go ahead and get the lorem ipsum here. And we'll add one more paragraph there. Line that up a little bit. Cover or reach lore. All right. And now let's get started on styling that. So we'll give the lore a padding. Start with 2 rem 0. And then we'll grab the graphics header. And we'll go ahead and actually features heading. We'll go ahead and create a new class called heading. Give that font size 2 rem. And we'll give the features heading. In index HTML, we'll find features heading. Make that a regular heading. And now we'll reuse that class down here. Okay. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and give that graphics header. Want to have some specific. Go ahead and give it a padding, top and bottom, 2 rems. Then oops, let's remove that. Remove that. What we actually want here is the floor header or heading. Grab that and we'll give it 2 rem padding. Okay. And we'll give it a text align, center. Then we'll grab the floor inner container, give that a display of flex. Then the image container, going to margin right 10 pixels. Let's say 1 rem. Switching a bit fast back and forth now. I just want to try to adjust this as I go along. And we want to grab these paragraphs here and we give it a class of floor paragraph. And we're going to give that font size. Make sure we check sketch. Okay, so let's see what that. Okay, line height 1.5. I think we can increase the margin to 3 rems here. Okay. Let's go ahead and go back to our CSS. We'll change this to 1.5. And then I think we'll go ahead and just get started on the footer. So the footer is going to be class footer. It's going to have the logo that we had from before. And it's going to have a background color that's going to be black. And it's going to have a padding of 0.5 rem on the top and bottom. And let's see what else. 2 sections here. All right. So let's go ahead and first we'll give it a little bit more padding. We'll say 1. And then we'll get started on the final section here. So the footer is going to have a contact and it's going to be a paragraph with the email as well. So the footer contact is going to have 2 paragraphs, and one's going to hold the company name and one will hold the org number. And the last bit of information here will be the email. So contact@billionworlds.com. Like that. See what it looks like. Okay, so we want everything stacked beneath each other or beneath the logo here right now. So we need to fix that. Go back to our code. Footer be display flex. And let's give it a color of white. And hopefully black. And hopefully that'll propagate out. Right. So now let's go ahead and style these individual sections a little bit. So the footer contact going to have a margin left and right of 2 rems. And then the paragraphs here are going to say margin bottom 0. See what that looks like. There's a little bit of, yeah, so let's go ahead and say margin top 5 pixels. And then we'll do line items center. And we'll give the same class to this one. Okay. All right. So we've done a lot in quite a short time, actually, and there's a lot of things that we could improve here. But in the name of kind of going fast and trying to code this out as quickly as possible, there's been a few shortcuts, so to speak. If I want to point out that you kind of want to make sure that you keep your spacing consistent. So around the headers and the bottoms here, you want to make sure that you keep the spacing consistent. You should probably have kind of the same class name for each header that you reuse, and then if you need to do something special with one header, you give it an additional class to kind of modify it. And obviously all of the colors should be consistent, and the size of the paragraphs should be consistent as well, and that could also be put into a single class, you know. I kind of went section for section here just to kind of quickly prototype this out, and there's a lot of improvements that can be made here to kind of shape it up and make it a little more robust. But you can quickly see how much you can do with just HTML and CSS. No JavaScript involved. And I think, you know, we'll cut this off here. Just maybe do a little bit more on this bottom section here. We can go to the lore, give the lore a little bit of a less padding on the top, and then we'll say 5 rem on the bottom. Actually go ahead and give it 0 on the top and see what that's like. Yeah, just to get a little bit more spacing. And as I said, you want to make sure that you're consistent with these things across your site. But for now, you know, I think we managed to prototype this up pretty quickly. And yeah, it's not the too bad result to kind of work on and refine as you go. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike, and I'll see you in the next video.